Hey guys, Alex over Serious Goose Games. Welcome back to our Unity Tactics RPG tutorial. Last time we made it so turns would automatically end for the player and the enemy when all units have expended their movement and tactics. Today we're adding a leveling system. First we want to hop into our unit script and add some new variables. So our variables are starting to get a little messy. We're going to have to go through and organize those a little bit, but for now, let's create some public variables to represent our level and experience. So we're going to create a public int for our level. We're going to start that at 1. Then we're going to do a public float for our experience. We'll start that at 0f. And we're going to have a public float experience to next level, or experience to level. We're going to start that at 100f. Now we want to create a new function called update stat values. So private void update stat values. And inside here, we're going to set our movement range to be equal to mathf.round to int. And it's going to be stats.speed times 0.1. So it's going to be 10% of our speed. Then we're going to do our attack range, and that'll be our perception. But then we want to clamp it so that our attack range will always be a minimum of 1. Then we're going to set our max health. And these are all the same as what we did before. I'm just moving it to its own function so that we can call it from like start and everything. And then we'll set our attack damage. And that's going to be equal to mathf.round to int. And that will be 5% of our strength. Now we're going to go to unit stats, and we're going to add a function in here. It's going to be a public void called level up stats. And inside here, we're going to do speed plus equals random.range. We'll do between 0 and 10. And once we have classes and stuff, this is going to be very different from how it is now. We're not going to have random.range. It will derive from, or we will have random.range, but it's going to derive from a kind of base stat value from the class. It's not just going to be between 0 and 10. So we also want to do our perception, our endurance, and our strength. Now that we have that, let's hop back to our unit script, and we're going to create our level up function. So private void level up. We're going to grab our experience and subtract our experience to level. And then we are going to increment our experience to level, or not increment, we're going to increase it by 1.5 times. So unlike Fire Emblem, I'm going to increase the amount of experience required to reach a new level. And I'm doing that because it takes more effort to level a unit, and it's easier to do it this way than to have a really complicated experience formula. And as long as we're capping it, it doesn't really matter how high it gets. Next, we want to grab our stats, and we want to call level up stats, and then we're going to call update stat values. Now that we've got those in place, let's hop over to our attack function. And inside here, we're going to deal with experience. So I just said that it's easier to just scale the experience up, but I am going to show you a formula to work with kind of a level difference. We're also going to do a little bit of cleanup here while we're working with it. So we'll do an int called distance. We're going to set this to be equal to owner.gridmanager.getHeuristic, and we'll pass in our attacker tile and our target tile. Then in this if statement, we can replace this with distance. That'll make our if statement a little nicer to look at. All right, and then underneath where we have our attacks left decrement, we're going to go ahead and create a float called experience to add. And this is going to be equal to target.health is less than or equal to attack damage. So yes, we are using a ternary. If it is, then we're going to do attack damage times 10. Otherwise, it'll just be the attack damage. So what we're doing here is we're giving experience based on the amount of damage we're dealing, and that's kind of how Fire Emblem does it. That way there is experience being gained every combat, not just when you kill a unit. Because if you're swinging a weapon, you're going to get better with it over time, even if you don't get a kill with it. The next thing we're going to do is multiply this by a modifier based on the level, and we want to do that so we can incentivize the player to not grind low-level things. We want to push them to fight things that are a higher level because they're going to get a significantly bigger reward for that. So we want to do our experience to add times equals mathf.clamp, and inside here we're going to do 10 minus our level minus target.level. We'll have a minimum of 0 and a maximum of 10. So what this formula is doing is, say we are level 3 and we are fighting something that is level 1. So 3 minus 1 is 2, so 10 minus 2 is 8. That means that we're going to get our experience times 8. So whatever our attack damage is, times 8. So if we do 2 damage to the enemy, we'll get 16 experience. But if we're level 12 and we are fighting a level 1, that's going to be 12 minus 1 is 11, 10 minus 11 is negative 1. We clamp that, so it's a 0. Our experience gets multiplied by 0. We get no experience for killing something that is more than 10 levels lower than us. And that's what this 10 means. If we wanted to, we could have that as a variable and say, max level difference, but it's basically 10 in either direction. After we make the target take damage, then we want to do experience plus equals our experience to add. And then we're going to check to see if our experience is greater than or equal to our experience to level. Then we're going to level up. After that, we just have to clean up our start method. So inside start, we are assigning our stats, as we should. And then we want to, instead of do all of this, we want to keep movement left is equal to movement range. And we want to make sure our health is equal to our max health. Everything else, though, we're going to replace because we moved it to that other function. So we're going to call update stat values. So this is what your start function should look like now. After that, you can go ahead and save and head back to Unity. So let's go ahead and hit play. And because we don't have much in the way of a UI yet, it's really hard to tell that something has changed. So we're going to keep an eye on the inspector. We can see that this unit I have selected right now, unit 1, has move speed of 5 and an attack damage of 4. So let's keep an eye on our experience here. I think it's this guy. If I move him over and I attack, you can see I just got 40 experience. And to make this a little bit more fair, I'm going to delete a bunch of the enemy units just because they keep dying before I can level. So I'm going to grab our first unit here. They have an attack damage of 4. So if I move him and attack, we get 40 experience. If I end my turn, is he dying? He's not dying. Okay. Right. And because I got rid of a bunch of those units, our enemy player is yelling at us. Let's try this again. Select our unit. Okay, so we have 3 for attack damage. So I'm gaining 30 if I end my turn. And I attack again. We go up to 60. End my turn. We're up to 90. What's my health at? Okay, so we aren't taking damage as this unit, and that could be for a multitude of reasons. But we leveled up, and our stats increased. Not by much, and it's completely random. So once we have classes, it'll be a little less random. It'll be a little bit more targeted. So if we have a tank, they're going to get more defense and stuff like that, that they will intelligence. Speaking of intelligence, in the next video, we're going to focus on fleshing out our stats a little bit more and adding physical defense to our combat. Because right now it's just pure damage. There's no way to mitigate it. So we're going to add in a physical defense stat so that we can actually do that. That's all for today, though. So if you found this video helpful, hit like and subscribe to help other devs find the series. Let me know in the comments. Many games use stats to differentiate between unit classes. In games where there are many classes, though, the designer needs to use aesthetics and abilities to help define classes. So what are some interesting abilities you think would be cool to see in a tactics game? As always, thanks for watching. I'm Alex with Serious Goose Games, and I'll see you in the next one.